Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Dennis Stockman, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Squadron Leader Guri Singh. We warmly welcome the family of Corporal Noel Eric Bolton-Wood, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Corporal Noel Eric Bolton-Wood. Known by his middle name Eric, Noel Bolton-Wood was born around the turn of the century in Dapto, New South Wales, to Alexander and Carolyn Bolton-Wood. He had two older brothers, Raymond and Alexander. When Eric's father died at the age of 41, his mother took her three young sons to live with her brother, who owned a dairy farm near Penrith in New South Wales. Eric attended Penrith Superior Public School and was a member of the school cadets. He earned his marksmanship badge at a young age, and he joined the militia in 1913. He enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in November 1914 at Liverpool, armed with a counterfeit letter of consent supposedly written by his mother and giving his age as 19. It is difficult to tell just how old he was at the time. A short biography that he contributed to gives his age as 15. Family legend has it that he was 17, and a later newspaper report says 16. Regardless, the young Private Bolton-Wood was posted to the 5th Reinforcements to the 13th Battalion and trained in Egypt before embarking for Gallipoli in August. He was not on the peninsula for long, however, being evacuated in September and admitted to hospital in Malta. In March 1916, Bolton-Wood joined the Imperial Camel Corps, which had been formed in order to deal with the revolt of pro-Turkish Senussi tribesmen in Egypt's Western Desert. Here he was promoted to corporal in August and sergeant in November. In early February, he was reported as being dangerously ill, but he was out of danger a few days later. By late March 1917, he had recovered well enough to return to his company. Towards the end of 1917, the intensity of operations grew, and during October and November, the Camel Corps participated in the victories at Beersheba, at Gaza, and at Mogar Ridge. In November, the Commissioner of General Savings Bank in New South Wales wrote to the Minister of Defence on behalf of his sister-in-law, Carolyn Bolton-Wood, who had lost two of her three sons to the war. Alex and Ray had both been killed in action in France. The letter asked that Eric be brought home or shifted somewhere safe. After additional pressure from New South Wales Attorney General, a response was received. While Eric could not be released from duty, he would not be sent to the firing line. About a month later, he was at Port Said rest camp, where he would remain until returning to Australia in 1918. Back at home, Eric met Marjorie Linthorpe in Perth, and the two were married in 1921. The couple would go on to have 5 children together. Eric found work as a commercial traveler selling electrical appliances. His wife and family often joined him on these trips, and his third child, Lex, was born in a hotel room in Young as a consequence. On the 12th of June 1940, Eric Bolton-Wood again enlisted, this time giving his age as 39, just under the age limit of 40. He was allocated to the 1st Corps Ammunition Park, given the rank of a corporal, and in September 1940 left Sydney, again bound for overseas service. After traveling through Haifa, Colombo, and Alexandria, Bolton-Wood arrived in Greece early in April 1941. On the 20th of April, Corporal Bolton-Wood was transporting ammunition to the 6th Division, which had joined an Allied force sent to bolster the depleted Greek army against the German invasion. The account given in Daryl Kelly's book, Just Soldiers, is worth recounting. There was a sense of urgency as Eric tied down the tarpaulins on the last of the boxes being loaded onto the truck. The Luftwaffe had command of the skies, and the main supply route was under constant observation. To get through, the convoy would have to take their chances and run the gauntlet of enemy bombardment. The trucks hurried along the main road, spread out to avoid presenting a mass target to air or artillery attacks. Suddenly they saw them in the distance, mere black dots against the cloudless sky. As they came closer, the diggers could identify the bent, gull-like wings of Stukas, the deadly enemy dive bombers. The drivers pressed the accelerators flat to the floor in a vain attempt to outrun the aircraft and reach the safety of mountain passes. Some made it, but others were caught in the open. The drivers did their best to take evasive action to dodge the bombs, but it was useless. As Eric's truck careered at breakneck speed along the roadway, a bomb detonated directly in front of it. The vehicle ended up overturned in a ditch beside the road. Soldiers sheltering nearby struggled to free the driver and passenger from the wreck, but as they pulled the corporal from the cabin, they realized that their efforts were in vain. Eric Bolton-Wood was buried by his comrades on the side of the road. His remains were later exhumed and reburied at Phaleron War Cemetery in Athens, where they lie today underneath the epitaph chosen by his family. A beloved husband and father with his comrades sleeps. His name is listed on the Roll of Honor on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photo is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Corporal Noel Eric Bolton-Wood, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We'll leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over, but in Australia, they'll be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. Thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and good evening.